Hello again. There are many advantages to educating your own child entirely by yourself and having no dealings at all with schools. You can choose what to teach the child, instill your own moral values, and also spend a lot more time with your child than most parents. I cannot personally recommend home education too highly. There is one downside though, and that is come into contact with other home educators, most of whom you will find, like yourself, are very likely to be cranks. Now, there are cranks and cranks. I am myself a notorious crackpot with strange and unconventional views, as I dare say those watching this channel regularly will have noticed. Believe me, though, I'm as sensible as a dictionary compared with some home educators. Perhaps the oddest and least balanced of all home educating parents are those who are freemen of the land. Essentially, those who claim to be freemen of the land, reject all statute laws, that is to say, the laws passed by Parliament. They believe that it's a matter of contract, that simply by withdrawing their consents to these laws, often by sending a letter to the Queen and the Prime Minister, they can opt out of the law. So if they get a summons, or even if they get a bill for rates, or water rates or something, they will simply write on it, contract not accepted, return to sender, and that's it. As far as they're concerned, they haven't entered into a contract, so that particular aspect of the law, the summons, doesn't apply to them. For reasons which are a little too complex to explain, they refer to these laws as Admiralty law. Instead, they say they will obey only the common law. This is the law of precedent, which is judgments and rulings of previous court cases. In this country, we have statute law, the laws passed by Parliament, and precedent, which is what some judge has decided in a previous court case. Sometimes these people refuse to acknowledge the jurisdiction of the courts or the authority of the police. This seldom ends well. I have seen home educated children removed from their families and taken into care because their parents ended up in court and refused to cooperate with the proceedings. I also knew somebody sent to prison for contempt of court for the same reason. The Freemen of the land are an extreme example of weirdness in the world of home education. The movement itself is nothing to do with home education, it's just that home educators often drift into fringe ideas and odd belief systems. I suppose that to some extent this is inevitable. Let's face it, everybody sends their kids to school. The very act of failing to register your child at school when he turns 5 is itself very peculiar, and only people who are a bit strange in some way tend to take such a step. Those with children at school might not realise how much the rhythm of their lives is governed by the school system. You have to get up at a certain time, deliver your child to the school, then collect him at another time. Then that doesn't happen on Saturdays and Sundays. The school holidays are significant markers in the year. You think in terms of half term, summer, Easter and so on. It's such a background for most families that parents hardly notice that it's happening. Home educators aren't connected with any of this. They set their own rhythms and timescales which are different from the rest of the country. Once they start hanging out with other home educating parents, they often find that there is a lot of strange ideas floating around. If it's not freemen of the land, it's anti-vaxxers. And if it's not that, then it's fundamentalist Christians, homeopathy, paganism, or all sorts of even more unusual belief systems. I've observed that the freemen of the land has a very strong hold in certain sections of the home educating world, and I've also seem to come across it more often elsewhere lately as well. I wouldn't be overly surprised to learn that some of the people watching this channel are free men, actually.